Domestic violence is a big problem, and getting help when you're the victim of domestic violence can also be a huge problem, especially if it's legal help. Legal advice is expensive, or it certainly can be expensive, and the legal system is very daunting. With all this in mind, Shirley McMurdo is a lawyer who has been practicing for about 25 years in diverse areas of legal practice. There's a story on WA Today this morning by Emma Young, a journalist, explaining that Shirley McMurdo has launched a new affordable legal service for victims of domestic abuse and domestic violence. And Shirley McMurdo joins me on the line. Good morning, Shirley.
Good morning, Gareth. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for your time today. Tell us more about why you've decided to set up this affordable service.
Well, the main reason to set up the service is that there are lots of victims out there, be they women victims or men or even same-sex partners. A lot of them out there that simply are so intimidated by the legal system that they will go back to their partners and go through the whole cycle of abuse over and over again. It's too difficult to step out without a legal firm that actually puts its hands out there and is willing to actually roll up its sleeves and do the work with them. That's to provide practical assistance as well as legal advice in a holistic manner.
So can you just give me an example of that? Because there's a range of interactions that someone might need to have with the legal system, but that's not, I guess, the only consideration if you're in an abusive relationship that you're just trying to get out of. You know, you might be looking for, I can think off the top of my head, it might be, some sort of restraining order, but equally you might be looking for advice about the implications of divorce or other things. I mean, or it might just be, how do you help yourself to get some space between you and your partner to try and get some clarity and some time to think?
Yes, well, what the Domestic Violence Legal Clinic does is that it actually provides the assistance to come up with the VROs to lodge at the court. So we do all the affidavit drafting and everything for the VROs. And with the family law aspect of it, we deal with parental arrangements, property settlement, child and spousal maintenance, and all under one roof. And if the victims need to have assistance to referral agencies to do with psychological counselling, financial counselling, or emergency accommodation, we have all that information on our fingertips to assist them to move forward.
Shirley, why is your service different to what's out there currently?
Well, the service is different in that it's actually been managed under a company called Swift Legal Services, which is my legal firm. Swift Legal Services is able to provide this community DV legal clinic or domestic violence legal clinic as an outreach community program. So if other clients, from different areas of the law want to come for advice, that actually helps us to actually fund this clinic. And that's how it works. The way it's actually done is we will charge people in accordance to a sliding scale, and it taking into account means. So the sliding scale is actually in accordance to income. There is no such model in Australia that I know of for a legal firm. So it is in that way different.
So typically most lawyers and legal firms will charge on a per hour basis depending on, whether you're consulting with a partner or a junior associate or whatever. You're saying that you'll look at someone's capacity to pay and then charge on that basis.
That is correct. So basically we have a sliding scale that's actually visible on our website, and you can actually look at the figures there, and it tells you what you'd be up for an hour's consult. And then we would discuss what is involved and provide a fixed fee for the service. Like, for example, if for a restraining order, it'll probably take 3 hours, 1 hour, for them to see me, 1 hour to actually get the paperwork done, and another hour in court. So it would be done in a holistic way. Plus, at the same time, we wouldn't just ignore the client and say, oh, it's only legal things. We would still be looking after them. And, Sarah Kelly, who was a survivor of domestic violence, whose story is on WA Today, she has agreed to work with us as an advocate and a volunteer because she is a survivor, and she would be with us to deal with client support groups which our firm is going to form as well. So we're not just a pure legal firm, we actually do two things.
Sure. How daunting is the legal process when you are not familiar with it, when you're trying to just get some stability into your life and try and figure a way out of an abusive situation?
It's extremely daunting because the way the legal process is at the moment, the client would have to have, to be in the same room as the perpetrator, and that can be very daunting. And I think the whole idea of this service is to try to break those, rules or legal rules, so to speak, so that we can eventually maybe get a jurisdiction which especially deals with domestic violence in the courts. Because domestic violent crimes are quite different to other forms of crimes, because the party is in their life forever if they have a child with that party.
Yes, indeed, and that is, I guess, part of the complexity. Is there? I mean, you're branching out. You're trying something different. From what I can understand, your more profitable areas of the practice of the law are basically, in some ways, subsidising the costs associated with this service. Is that a reasonable kind of characterisation of your service?
Yeah, that would be a reasonable characterisation of it. Because if I didn't have a general practice where I get normal clients coming in, I would never be able to find an ability to actually set out a DV legal clinic, which is an outreach program.
Sure. And so what's your motivation to do that then, Shirley?
My motivation is that, I've always, my inspiration comes from Rosie Batty.
Yes.
And, all the tribulations she went through with the legal system. And I've read quite a lot of literature that she has put out regarding all the issues in the legal system. And what I feel is that we need a one-stop shop, and to actually attend to all that work. I'm also in the process of wanting to collect statistics and eventually put forward submissions to the government as to how we can change laws to make it a little bit more comfortable and put our victims at ease. Because much of the way that the legal process is at the moment, it doesn't actually provide that kind of assistance. There is victim support groups and things like that, but you can't actually, for example, if you didn't know that your partner was coming out of jail for an offence, then you would actually have no say at all on the parole application that he would be putting forward. And you may want to make it clear that you not be contacted. So there are many issues like that, which the law doesn't clearly provide assistance. But if you have a firm that's dealing with domestic violence, then all of that comes to the fore, and new laws can actually eventually come about.
Changing the law is always a difficult process or a different project. How realistic do you think that goal is, and where do you start with that project?
Well, we start at the beginning, which is setting up this service. And maybe in about 4 or 5 years, we might have sufficient statistics to actually put something forward.
Sure.
But you have to start somewhere. So we feel that this is the best way. I'm very fortunate to get assistance from my from Lucette Combo-Metzger now. She's actually a law student who's helping me with this clinic. And the two of us, they are very passionate about this sort of work. And she helps me in with legal work as well as providing assistance, which is practical assistance to clients.
If someone's listening to this interview and they're in a situation that is making them think, well, maybe this is the trigger for me to do something, to take some action to try and protect myself and my family, what would be your advice as to their first step?
Well, the first step would be to contact ourselves, and we can then put you, in touch with other areas. Maybe you need financial counselling. Maybe you need to find a safe house. We could help you with all that, and then we can take you step by step and all the different procedures, legal procedures that you would have to go through in the long run. We're in it for the journey. We're not, sort of fly by night. We're not in a situation where we only do piecemeal advice. We provide our assistance from the very beginning to seeing the client stable and able to start a new life.
Shirley, you're based in Morley. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can call me. My number is very accessible. Just call Shirley on 0413 202 265.
So that number's 0413 202 262 to call Shirley McMurdo.
No, that's incorrect.
Pardon me?
I'll repeat the number. It's 0413 202 265.
265, okay. Apologies with that. 0413 202 265 if you think Shirley McMurdo can help you.
And if they feel that they can't quite pick up the phone, because that can be a real effort as well, they can email me on shirley@domesticviolencelegalclinic, all one word, .com.au.
So that's shirley@domesticviolencelegalclinic.com.au. Shirley McMurdo, thanks for your time. Good luck with it. Hopefully you assist men and women who are in a difficult situation with getting help and the access to the legal system that they need.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this time on the show.
No worries. Thanks, Shirley, for your time. Appreciate it. There you have it. So that's hopefully a lower cost way of getting some advice, getting some help if you're in a domestic violence situation. If you are, in addition to, I'll give you those numbers again. Shirley McMurdo's can be reached on 0413 202 265, 0413 202 265.